Let's talk about Gwen Stacy. Hi, I'm Izzy, this is Rolling Virtual Cards, and I'm still making Magic the Gathering videos. So, Gwen Stacy is a character from Spider-Man. This is from the Spider-Man sets. As much as everyone's dogpiling on them and saying that they are terrible, I am enjoying what there is so that I can play my favorite Spider-Man cards, and I am actively avoiding ever playing Magic Online or Magic Arena because I hate spiders that much. Look up Omen Path. Or just watch any of the multitude videos out there. Spice Acre has the best. Now, Gwen Stacy is 1 and a red for a 2/1 legendary creature human performer hero. With the following. When Gwen Stacy enters, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control this creature. For 2, a blue, a red, and a white, you can transform Gwen Stacy and activate only as a sorcery. Now, all the stuff over here, let's get to that 18 points. Where do we get it from, right? So, its color identity, it's mono red on this side. Its other side is Jeskai, which means it gets 3 points right there. Mana value, though, you can technically cast it for 2 mana. Being able to cast it for 2 mana does technically give it 5 points. Is this fair? Is this optimal? No. My point system's never been optimal. It just exists. For me, and anyone else who likes to have a pedantic point system. It also has a really good card advantage on both sides, mind you. So when Gwen Stacy enters, you exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card for as long as you control this creature. That is card advantage. So for 2 mana, you get an extra card. That's useful. It's helpful. You can go, I don't have anything better to do on turn 2. Let's cast Gwen Stacy, and this might help you unlock your hand a little better when playing in a game. Okay? Now, it doesn't have protection. There is no interaction with it, and there is no card combo to be seen anywhere. But it does have another side. That other side being Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider is 2, a blue, a red, and a white, the same as transforming it, and you may cast it by itself. Now, don't get it confused. These are double modal-faced cards, just like the land ones, where you can play a land or cast the spell. You can cast either side. One side, though, the humans, the non-superhero side the non-hero side can be cast, or can transform into the hero side, but you cannot do vice versa. Okay. Ghost Spider has the following effects. It's a 4/4 spider human hero with flying, vigilance, and haste. And when you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you put a 1/1 counter on Ghost Spider. And then you may remove 2 counters from Ghost Spider, exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card this turn. So the idea with Ghost Spider is to get 1/1 counters on it by casting or playing lands, by playing lands or casting cards from exile, and then you removing those 1/1 counters so that you can play more cards from exile, so you can put more 1/1 counters on her. You don't have green, so you don't have a lot of the 1/1 counter doublers, but that's not really the point there. And honestly, her advantage here, her card advantage from playtesting, really breaks down into a, if you need it, if you really feel like I'm behind, I need something, Ghost Spider can give you some advantage. But you'd rather probably just hit someone really hard with her. With flying, vigilance, and haste, it really means you can get in there fast. You can still protect yourself with her, and you can definitely hit them because you have flying. That evasion is peak. What does this mean for the deck? What are we looking at in the 33? Well, welcome to the 33. The other 33 is the meat and potato of Commander decks. This is the reason you're building the deck in the first place, and not the other cards that happen to be in the deck because you're playing Magic and they just happen to be good cards and you need good cards in your deck to be able to play the game of Magic. Let's talk about theming. Let's be reckless. Here's a bunch of cards. So, Charred Foyer and Warped Space is a room, an enchantment room, with the following effects. So, for Charred Foyer, it's 3 and a red, and you, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile the top card of your library, and you may play this card this turn. And for Warped Space, once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana for a spell you cast from exile. Both cards super good in this deck. Absolutely phenomenal. What this is doing, and much of these cards doing, is it's just giving you a chance to cast a card from exile and being able to buff your Ghost Spider. Outpost Siege is 3 and a red for an enchantment that when it enters, you choose Khans or Dragons. Don't choose Dragons. Khans, at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top card of the library until the end of your turn. You may play that card. And Dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to any target. You're not worrying about that Dragons part here. It's 100% Khans. It's all about just going, cool, I get another exile from the top card of my library. Let's do stuff. Valakut Exploration is 2 and a red for an enchantment with a landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. At the beginning of your end step, if there are cards exiled with Valakut Exploration, put them into the owner's graveyard. Then Valakut Exploration does that much damage to each opponent. So if you play a land, because you should be playing lands on your turn, at least you're going to be playing 1, right? It does the same thing as Outpost Siege, but for 1 less mana, for the most part. You play a land, cool, let's exile the top card. If it's another land, you're SOL, but that will get exiled, and you'll deal damage to each opponent, which is okay. I mean, it won't get exiled, it'll be put back into your graveyard, or put into your graveyard. Tavern Brawler is 2 and a red for an enchantment, for a legendary enchantment background with commander creatures you own have, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets +X/+0 till end of turn. Where X that card's mana value, you may play that card this turn. Since this deck does technically break down into a Voltron deck in the most plain sense of the words, just a non-equipment orientated one. There's an equipment you can see on the screen right now. I get that, but it's not orientated towards that. I promise you. Even though it could be, it's not. This is a great card to buff them. Even if you exile a 1-drop, you'll be able to go, cool, at least it's getting +1/+1. But if, you exile like a 6-drop, cool, that's +6/+6, right? Risk reward, you get the card either way. Sword of Forge and Frontier is 3 generic for an artifact equipment. With equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you exile the top 2 cards of your library, and you may play those cards this turn, and you may play an additional land this turn. So this allows you to really push that next level, okay? What you're getting out of this is the ability to play an additional land if that's one of the cards you've exiled this turn, which it could be. And usually if you exile 2 lands, you're SOL, but with Sword of Forge and Frontier, you get a second land, which is another 1/1 counter for your commander. Inspired Tinkering is 4 and a red for a sorcery with exile the top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards, create 3 treasure tokens. For 5 mana, that's a lot, but you do get a nice 3 treasures. And those 3 cards can be played to into your next turn, giving you a chance to just cast this and just go, I'm not doing anything else this turn. I'm just going to attack you with my character and pass. But the next turn, you'll get some stuff done. Rin's Resolve is 1 and a red for a sorcery with exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your turn. Your next turn, you may play those cards. And Reckless Impulse is 1 and a red for a sorcery with exile the top cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Both just a simple way to be reckless. They're impulse draws or reckless draws. And that's the point here. We're being reckless. We're saying, I'm going to cast something out of this and buff my commander, I hope. Well, we're not done being reckless. Let's continue being reckless here. Urbrask Heretic Praetor is 3 and 2 red for a 4/4 Phyrexian Praetor with haste. And at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play this card this turn. Also, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn. So this is both helpful and hindering to your opponents. So it's helpful for you because you just get an additional card, but for your opponents, instead of drawing a card, they get it exiled. So they don't get to wait on it. They have to use it then and there. Bone Horde Dracosaur is 3 and 2 red for a 5/5 dinosaur dragon with flying and first strike, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top 2 cards of your library and you may play them this turn. If you exile a land a card this way, you create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token, and if you exile a non-land card this way, you make a treasure token. So since you're exiling 2 cards, you can exile a land and a non-land, getting a 3/1 and a treasure. Okay? Very useful, very nice creature to just get you more cards to buff your commander. And more card advantage. This is a commander that likes card advantage. Tectonic Giant is 2 and 2 red for a 3/4 elemental giant with whenever Tectonic Giant attacks or becomes the target of a spell or an opponent controls, choose 1. Tectonic deals 3 damage to each opponent, or exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. You're going to use the exile a lot of times, but the 3 damage to each opponent is nothing to scoff at. Lilia, the Blade Reforged is 2 in a red for a 2/2 Spirit Warrior with haste, and whenever it attacks, you exile the top card of your library and you may play that card this turn. And whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or from your graveyard, you put a 1/1 counter on it. This is a backup win con. It allows you to win because you can get really, really big with all the exiles. With all these extra exiles and stuff, each one is an individual trigger, meaning Lelia gets a 1/1 counter for each one being exiled. So if you exile like 3 things each turn, or 4, and then you attack with Lelia and you get a 5th, you get bigger and bigger, and you can just start one-shotting people with Lelia. Reaches, Igor Pillager is 2 in a red for a 3/3 Goblin Pirate with first strike, and when it attacks, or whenever a pirate you control attacks, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. You create a treasure token. Target creature can't block this turn. Or exile the top card of the library. You may play it this turn. So you're usually just exiling a card. You can get the treasure if you need the ramp. Making a creature not block can be helpful if they have a flyer and your commander can one-shot. It can finally take someone out or deal a decent amount of damage. But usually it's going to be about exiling a card and buffing your commander. Hornfell, Horn of Bounty. You know this is the opposite side of the god. I forget her name. But you're not playing it for the god side. You're playing it for the Hornfell. For 4 in a red, you get a landfall. A legendary artifact with discard a card, exile the top card's library. You may play those cards. This just allows you to keep going and going and going and going and buffing your command. Party Thrasher is 1 in a red for a 1/4 Lizard Wizard. Lizard Wizard. With non-creature spells you cast from exile have Convoke. That's useful. You're running creatures, but you are also running a lot of non-creatures. So being able to cast them by tapping your creatures is useful. And at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may discard a card. If you do, exile the top 2 cards of your library, then choose one of them and you will play that card this turn. So this allows you to go discard this card, exile 2, play this one. Gives you some card selection. It's not actually card advantage because you do lose 2 cards but gain 1. But it is card selection. And it does help your commander. And then Inti Sinshal of the Sun is 1 in a red for a 2/2 human knight with whenever you attack, you may discard a card. Whenever you do, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature. When it gains trample, till end of turn. And whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until the end of the next turn. You have a few discard ways in this deck to just kind of like to just be able to trigger Inti, but also it's attacking when you're discarding. And putting a 1/1 counter on your commander is great. And then also, I mean, like, you then exile a card and you can play that card to buff your commander again. So, again, be reckless. Try to find ways to cast these cards. The next theming is we shall all be reckless. We're going to force them to be reckless. And by that, I mean we're going to be reckless with their cards. Grinzo Havoc Razor is 2 red for a 2/2 Goblin Rogue with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you choose 1. Goad target creature that player controls, exile the top card of that player's library until the end of turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Goading is fine, but honestly, you're going to exile that card from their graveyard, from their top of the deck, because you can cast it. And since you're casting the card from exile, you still buff your commander. Mind's Dilation is for a 5 and 2 blue for an enchantment that whenever an opponent casts their first spell each turn, that player exiles the top card of their library. If it's a non-land card, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. That's a free way to steal a card from your opponent, get a good card possibly, and still buff your commander. Wand of Wonder is 3 and a red for an artifact with pay 4 and tap it to roll a d20, and each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. Then shuffles the rest into their library. You may cast up to X instant sorcery spells from among the exiled cards without paying their mana costs. 1 to 9 is 1, 10 to 19 is 2, and 20 is 3. So you can easily get 1 or 2 cards here, just being able to cast them, and that's 1 to 3 cards of 1/1 counters on your commander. The key to the vault is 1 and a blue for an equipment with when an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them, put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. Again, a very simple way to just go free card plus a 1/1 counter. And its equip is 2 in a blue. Atali Primal Storm is 4 and 2 red for a 6/6 Elder Dinosaur with whenever it attacks you exile the top card of your library, each player's library. Then you may cast any number of the spells from among these cards without paying this mana cost. This triggers on attack, and you get all 4 at attack. So if you get all 4, that's 4 1/1 counters on your commander at attack. Plarg and Nisari is 3 and 2 red for a 5/4 Orc Efret. With at the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. An opponent chooses a non-land card exiled this way, and you may cast up to 2 spells from among the other cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So you and your opponents do it. You lose 1 card that they choose, and you can choose 2 out of the other 3. So you don't get to cast the best spell, but you get to cast the second and third best spell. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer is 1 red for a 2/1 Monkey Pirate with whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast that card, and you can dash it for 1 in a red. This is, again, a simple way to just hit them and get some free cards. And, well, not free cards, but get some free mana and some cards that will buff your commander. Chandra Torch of Defiance is 2 and 2 red for a 4 Loyalty Chandra with +1 exile the top 2 cards of your library, or top card of your library. You may play that card. You may cast that card. If you don't, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So you have to cast it right then and there. If you choose not to, you just deal 2 damage to each opponent. But it's still, if you do cast it, you buff your commander. For another +1 is you get 2 red mana, and its -3 is to deal 4 damage to target creature, and its -7 is to get you an emblem with whenever you cast a spell. This emblem deals 5 damage to any target. That emblem will just win you the game sometimes, if it ever goes off. And let's talk payoff anger. Let's be angry, okay? 1 second. I fixed it. Let's get angry, right? So Keeper of Secrets is 5 in a red for a 6/4 demon with first strike and haste, and whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, it deals damage to that spell's mana value to target opponent. So you're casting your spells from exile, you're going to just start dealing damage to your opponents. Wild Wasteland is 2 in a red for an enchantment that you skip your draw step, but at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the 2 cards of your library and you play the card that's this. That one should probably be in Reckless, but I didn't have enough space. So I put in Angry. Be angry, you don't get to draw a card. Passionate Archaeologist is 1 in a red for a legendary enchantment background with commander creatures you control have whenever you cast a spell from exile. This creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. More damage. More anger. Flaming Tyrannosaurus is 5 and 2 red for a 5/5 dinosaur with Menace and Paradox. With which is whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, he'll deal 3 damage to any target, and you put a 1/1 counter on it. And when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Eventually, that can be strong enough to where your opponents just can't let it die, otherwise they lose. But yeah, just start dealing 3 damage, lightning bolting everything. Nalfeshni is 5 in a red for a 4/6 beast demon with flying, and whenever you cast a spell from exile, you copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice the permanent. Cool, I don't care, give me a second spell. You don't get to cast the copy, so you don't trigger your commander with him, but you do get a copy, which is good enough. Wild Magic Sorcerer is 3 in a red for a 4/3 Orc Shaman that whenever the first spell you cast from exile each turn has Cascade. And the Cascade card, by the way, is also exiled, so that's a second trigger for your commander. And a second trigger for like all these other cards here. Vega the Watcher is 1, a white and a blue. I know you might be thinking this was a mono red deck. No. There's white and blue is in this deck, guys. For a 2/2 Bird Spirit with flying, whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you draw a card. And Roaming Throne, for 4 generic, you get a 4/4 Golem with Ward 2, and whenever it enters, choose a creature type, normally human at this time. And whenever it is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and whenever a triggered ability of another creature you control with the chosen type triggers, you trigger an additional time. So with for your commander, you just get put 2/1/1 counter on it. Not bad. So yeah, this is all about like getting a little angry, having options, stuff to do with the exiled cards, right? And technically you're exiling cards with your commander too, and since you're doing that, you can like cast stuff off it, so that can also trigger these guys. But let's talk about the Golden Potato, the one card that made you want to build the deck, and this is where I'm going to lose a lot of you. I know this. From deep down in my heart. But this is one of my favorite cards of all time, guys. Possibility Storm is the Golden Pig here. Golden Pig, Golden Potato. I cannot steal Golden Pig. I stole the idea of Golden Pig. I'm not lying about that. Anyone who watches him knows that. But Golden Potato. Possibility Storm. For 3 and 2 red, you get an enchantment that whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it. Cards from the top of his, or exiles cards from the top of the library until he or she exiles cards that shares a card type with it. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then he or she puts all cards exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of the library in a random order. This turns every card you cast into a card cast from exile, which then buffs your commander when you're casting from your hand. But since you're also exiling so many cards as your draw engine, Possibility Storm doesn't interfere with you like it does with your opponents. So it's affecting your opponents so much more than it is you, making it such a good card. I get the stigma, the hatred of this card. It slows the game down. It's a terrible card because it's not fun. I think it's fun. I love this card. It's probably in my top 10 favorite EDH cards. I'm not a nice person, apparently. So, I love Possibility Storm. I think it's such a great card. Especially like when used properly, and this is one of those decks where it's just such a good card. It is the Golden Potato. Deck build link will be in the description, but here's a little glance of the full deck build. You'll notice that there are non-red cards in this deck list because this is a Jeskai deck. It's just exiling cards to cast them is red. So, yeah. You like Gwen or not? Leave a comment, subscribe. Tell me I'm pretty. Peace.